How anti-woke do you have to be to qualify for this visa?
Hi, Lewis. Thanks for having me. Well, look, it's not necessarily about being anti-woke. It's about the majority of people from these Western countries that are fed up with the way that our government, unfortunately, is running things. And, if you look at, the immigration crisis we got in the UK, the issues with getting, normal medical appointments and everything else, along with the fact that, you can send your child to school and not know what gender they're going to want to ultimately identify as. There's unfortunately a time in the world at the moment that we live in where people are starting to look for other options. And, Moscow is a place that is extremely safe. People can move here with their families and, live in a place where, the crime is controlled. People can walk the streets at 3 a.m. and not worry about
Hutchinson,
their
how
safety.
safe would you say is living in Russia or in Moscow if you don't much approve of the Russian government and you speak out against them on a consistent basis?
Well, look, you can speak your mind here. I mean, you don't have to
tell that to Alexei Navalny. What's happened to him? Oh, wait, you can't. He's dead because Russia killed him. Putin killed him.
Yeah, but we're not talking here about, getting involved in Russian politics. We're here talking about...
Well, you just said it was safe to live in Russia. And it's not, is it, if you speak out against the Putin regime? I can speak out against the Starmer government every day of the week. I'm not going to get locked up. But if I go to Putin's Russia and start criticising, I could end up in basically the modern-day gulag. So it's not very safe, is it?
Well, look, people speak about the good and bad things here. I speak about the good and bad things on my YouTube channel, and I haven't been locked up. But
is that because you're funded by the Russian government?
Well, I'm not funded by the Russian government, and I know the BBC and others like to come out and call me a traitor and whatever else they're calling me, but they don't say that about people that set up relocation companies in Dubai and all of the real estate agents that decide to move to Dubai. And people could say that there's human rights abuses and all sorts in some of these Middle Eastern countries, but yeah, people aren't speaking about that.
I don't recall the UAE kidnapping 19,500 children from a neighbouring state and taking them to relocate as a form of a war crime with families in their own country, which the Russian government has done.
Well, that's not fact, is it?
It is fact. It's fact backed up by multiple international organisations. Are you saying that those children have relocated themselves?
No, I'm saying that you're stating things that aren't proven. They're not, they're not fact.
All right. Okay. Well, all right. Well, let's. You say that Russia's safe. I asked you about Alexei Navalny. What about Boris Nemtsov, high-profile opposition politician in Russia, vocal critic of Putin and of corruption in government, and mysteriously on the 27th of February 2015 was shot dead as he walked across a bridge in central Moscow. Was Russia safe for him?
And are these things proven in terms of why that was? Yes, things happen, and we're not saying that
things happen.
We're not saying that crime doesn't happen in Russia. Of course,
more
it does.
Than crime, isn't it?
Everywhere in the world. But all I'm saying is my experience is here, and for the majority of these thousands of people that are moving here from the unfriendly Western nations are finding that they're finding a better life here in Moscow.
How would you recommend a gay person avail themselves of one of these visas?
Well, obviously, LGBT is classified as an extremist organisation here in Russia. So
not very friendly if you're gay, Russia, then?
But it's not illegal to be gay. It's illegal to come out and protest against LGBT.
They're just subject to beatings, vigilante-style gay hunts, and public humiliation. Not illegal, but don't worry about it. You might just be beaten up in the street.
Well, like I say, I'm not really getting involved in that.
But you are advocating. But Mr. Hutchinson, you are advocating British people go to live in Russia. You are shilling for this government, this regime, which is murderous, kidnapping, and advocates, or at least turns a blind eye, let's put it that way, to vigilante-style beating up of LGBT people. Does that make you feel good about yourself?
I'm not reaching out to people saying, "Come and join me in Russia," as some of the headlines have said. I'm merely operating a service not funded by the government. Yes,
Do you get? Are you
help
supported
advise.
by the Russian government in any way?
Well, the only thing that we've done is attend conferences and meetings and help them out in terms of identifying how foreigners, how we can change the system to enable foreigners to integrate better into Russian
You don't
life.
receive a single ruble from the Russian government.
We do not receive a single ruble from the Russian government. We're an independent private business that helps people who contact us off their own backs that have already made the decision about moving to Russia. And we're the only foreigner-run business to do that. And I'd rather them trust us as a business to help them on the right track to integrate here than a complete random person.
Can you guarantee that none of the people who end up availing themselves of your services are going to end up on the front line in Ukraine?
No, that doesn't happen. And I know there's been stories about Derek Huffman, of course, from the US and others, but these are people that voluntarily signed up to a military contract.
Well, he says he feels like he's being thrown to the wolves right now, his wife said in a vlog uploaded to the family's YouTube channel, because he's ended up on the front line.
And this is where the media takes things out of context. But
how is that out of context? That's his wife said that, hasn't it? That's his wife, unless you've got other information.
Yeah, well, I know his wife actually, and that's a complete.
So he's not on the front line.
He was sent to a unit within the Russian military. Yes,
would you fight for Russia?
He did fight for Russia.
No, would you fight for Russia?
Well, I mean, I'm not in a position where I need to make that decision.
No, but if they asked you, I mean, obviously this is a government and a system about which you feel passionate. So if they said, "Oh, Mr. Hutchinson, we could do with some of your help with the lads in Donetsk invading someone else's country," would you help out?
Well, I'm not in a position to sign up for the military. I don't speak Russian.
Well, they could come and knock on your door.
I don't speak Russian. I hold a British passport. I'm not probably going to be someone who will be very desirable here. Plus, under international sanctions, I wouldn't be allowed under UK law to fight for Russia. What I'm doing now and operating this business here, I'm not breaking any sanctions. I'm not doing anything illegal. And obviously, I can't cross that barrier because I still want to be welcome in my own country. I don't want to. I'm not a complete traitor that has just, completely, gone to live in Russia and turned my back on my own country.
What was it about this anti-democratic, kleptocratic, oligarchic, murderous, kidnapping, lying regime that attracted you so much?
Well, ultimately, under the Conservative government, they approved my wife's initial visa, and the Labour Party got in and decided to reject her visa.
Well, so it's just personal animus, and you're just like, okay, well, fine, I'll go and help these fellas out.
Well, no, originally, because my wife's Russian, by the way, and originally the Home Office wrote a letter to me and my wife saying that I can go to Russia, absolutely no problem. They'd seen that I've travelled there many times before.
Do you understand, Mr. Hutchinson? Do you understand, Mr. Hutchinson, whatever happened to you and your wife, do you understand why so many people listening to this, having seen Putin's illegal, outrageous, murderous invasion of a fellow country against citizens who did nothing to him, why they would find it so unbelievable, so incredible that one of our own would go to Moscow, be supported by the Russian government, set up this company, and then invite and advocate that other Brits should join them in Moscow on the basis of superior Russian moral values?
Look, there's thousands and thousands of people from not only the UK but all over Europe moving here every single month.
Really?
How
many have you helped? How many have you helped?
It's high numbers. Let's just say that. There's high. Well, from the UK, there's 10 to 15 that have already come here. We get hundreds of inquiries. We have hundreds of inquiries a month, and that's just through my organisation. There's obviously other ways that people come in, and they don't always use someone to help them come in. But all I would say is, look, all of these people are coming here off their own backs for their own
You're
reasons.
a stooge, aren't you, Mr. Hutchinson? You're a Kremlin stooge. You're a modern-day Lord Haw-Haw.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not working for the Kremlin. I'm not working for Putin. I've not been paid any money by any security services, any ministries here. I'm purely operating a private company to help people in the best way that I can, whether it's they want to move here and they want to buy an apartment, they want to rent an apartment, they need to.
You honestly believe that Russia is a superior country, a better state, has better moral values than the United Kingdom?
I don't want my daughter going to school to be given a list of 200 different genders they can identify.
How would you feel if she was called up to go and serve in an illegal and outrageous war in Ukraine when she's older, or wherever it happens to be at that point?
But you're saying it's illegal and outrageous.
Well, it is.
But that's your opinion.
All right. Well, why don't you go and fight in it then? You're in Moscow. You obviously feel passionate about it. Why don't, if you don't think it's so great, go and fight in it?
I'm not a soldier.
Well, you could be soon. You could be soon, so I would get your little bayonet out, Mr. Hutchinson, if I were you. One final thing. Are you a traitor to this country, to the United Kingdom?
I'm absolutely not a traitor. I love my country.
You don't sound it.
I support my country.
You love it so much, you decided to go to Moscow. You decided to go to Moscow under the current government and go and encourage other people on the basis of superior Russian moral values to go and move there too.
Well, I became an approved parliamentary candidate for the Conservative Party. I did have a vision of actually becoming the Prime Minister of our country, and that was on my mind. That was the track that I had. Unfortunately, circumstances have led to me taking a different path, but that doesn't make me a traitor. I'm living in a country that shares fantastic historic ties with the UK, dating back, through our royal families, we were bound by blood. This is a country that, yes, we've fallen out with in recent times, but I see a pathway to peace. And I do see a world where Moscow, Russia, London and the UK becomes friends again. That's what I would like, and that's what so many foreigners would like that live here already.
Spasiba, Mr. Hutchinson. That's Phillip Hutchinson there, CEO of Moscow Connect, joining us live from Moscow. With patriots like that, who needs a country?